Hi, seventh graders. So today you are going to complete an activity called the Carbon Cycle Passport Game or Carbon Cycle Passport Activity. All right. So first things first, your sub or if you're at home, you will need to print out the activity that looks like this. If you're at school and you have the sub should have this on the back counter behind my computer. If you are at home, then you will need to print it out right here where it says Carbon Cycle Passport, Carbon Cycle Passport Doc Part 1. Okay, so with that being said, okay, you are completing Part 1 and then tomorrow you're going to work on Part 2. Okay, so let's start with this activity, the document here. First things first, you're going to want to add a note at the very top of your paper after you've placed your name and your bell on this. Okay, these notes are going to help you complete this table below. Okay, so what you're going to learn is that this particular assignment requires that you know about 4 spheres. Spheres are basically kind of like different worlds within our planet. Okay, the first sphere that we're going to talk about is the biosphere. And anytime that life is mentioned, then that is part of the biosphere. So anything that has to do with live plants and animals, and even dead plants and animals because they were once living. Even decomposers and parasites like worms and bacteria, they all belong to the biosphere. Second sphere you're going to hear is a hydrosphere. Okay, the hydrosphere is all part of water. So that means surface water, rivers, lakes, streams, groundwater, all part of the hydrosphere. The next one you're going to hear about is atmosphere. Well, this one's pretty easy. It has anything to do with gases that surround our planet. Okay, so if water turns into water vapor is a gas, so it is part of our atmosphere. And then finally, you'll have geosphere. And geosphere is anything that has to do with soil. So dirt, rocks, sand, that is all going to be about part of the geosphere. If you see animal waste, that's actually not part of geosphere. It's actually part of the biosphere. So these particular spheres are going to be used throughout this table. So keep these notes at the top of your paper in mind as you complete this table. All right, so let's actually talk about completing this table. You will need to have the actual Carbon Passport activity link or site actually open, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, so what this is that every time you click on a part of the screen, you're actually going to be sent to a different website or a different slide in this activity. You are going to pretend to be a molecule of carbon, and you're going to pass through these different stages of your life as being a part of the carbon molecule. Everyone is going to start with this picture right here, which is going to represent surface water. Okay, so in your documents, you're going to actually write down, this goes for everyone, that you're going to start with surface water. Okay, and then underneath that, you're going to want to write down what sphere that's a part of. Well, it's water, so therefore it is part of the hydrosphere. So here we're going to write down hydrosphere. Okay, now in order to complete the rest of these boxes, we have to go ahead and click on that picture. So let's click on hydrosphere, or I'm sorry, surface water. Okay, then what's going to happen, it's kind of like one of those choose your own adventure where you're going to choose one of these adventures to go on. Okay, so I'm going to pick the second one. It says you move into the air that is drifting over a stream on a hot day, evaporation. Okay, so I need to keep that in mind. I'm going to go back to my doc and I'm going to look here. I need to fill out what new reservoir and sphere do you move to? Well, we don't know what that is yet until we click that link, but we do know the third column, what process moved you to that new reservoir. And that process is actually located right here in bold print, evaporation. So I'm going to actually write in the word evaporation. Okay, great. Now this last column you're not going to fill out at all, so you can ignore the last column. So let's actually click on the one that we picked. So I'm going to pick this one and it takes me to atmosphere. So I'm going to actually type this in, that the reservoir I'm going to go to is atmosphere. Now, atmosphere is the sphere that you're going to stay in. So you actually can, if you want to, you can write down atmosphere again, or you can just write it in once. Okay, so atmosphere is atmosphere. So now I get to pick a new part of my adventure. So I'm going to pick, let's say, this one right here. It says, you have moved from the air into a lake, become carbonic acid. So this is the process of precipitation and condensation. Okay. So I need to type in here what I put here. So literally I'm going to copy what I put here. In your cases, guys, you're just going to rewrite what you got here and put it here. Okay. I have the wonderful way of copying and pasting on computer. You don't. So just write it in. Okay. Now I'm going to, again, I'm going to pick this one and I have to write down my process. Make sure you write down your process first before you click on it. So I'm going to write down precipitation and condensation. Okay. So click on that and it takes me back to surface water, ironically. So I have to write down what I get, surface water, and that again is part of the hydrosphere. Okay. So again, I'm going to take what I got here, copy it, put it right here. In your guys' case, you will rewrite it in the box below. Okay. This time though, I'm going to pick a different one. Okay. I'm going to pick this one. It says you are in a puddle at the base of a soggy stump being consumed by fungus. So I'm going to click on that. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to click on it. I want to actually write this down first because that is the process that it undergoes. So let me write that down. I'm going to go under decomposition. Okay. And then I'm going to click on it. Oh, look, it takes me to a different one, decomposers and parasites. So let me write that down. It's going to take me to decomposers and parasites. Great. Oh, I've got to figure out what biome that is a part of. So that is a part of life. So that goes under biosphere. So again, I will take this, copy it, and paste it here. And I'm going to keep doing this over and over again until I actually fill up this entire table. I'm going to do one more here. Okay, so here I've actually thought about, which one should I think? Let me pick this one. You are in a honey mushroom eaten by a black bear. Okay, so that is ingestion. Okay, oops. I accidentally clicked it. So what I can do is if I clicked it before I actually wrote down my process, just hit the back button. Or sorry, no, not hit the back button. You're going to have to, you can go back and try to pick which slide it was. So the last slide that I was on was, let me check. The last slide I was on decomposers and parasites. So I'm going to click on the slide here and I'm going to go to decomposers and parasites and go back to the one that I missed. So I remember it was this one I picked. So it was ingestion. So again, if you forget to write down your process, again, just go back to the last slide you were on. And again, the one I was on was decomposers and parasites. Now I'll just write down ingestion before I forget again. And then so click on ingestion, and now I'm going to go to live animals, which are consumers. Okay, and that is part of the biosphere. All right, so then you're going to continue doing this over and over again up until all of these particular spaces are filled up. You want to go at least through 10 spots. Okay. All right, so that is your goal for part one, is to keep doing this over and over again until you've until you've gone to until you've reached all 10 of these spots. Okay, so this is part one of this activity. Okay, if you have any questions, message me, or you can ask Mrs. Val if she's in your room. She's done this activity before to get some additional help. All right, so I will see you guys tomorrow for part two. All right, guys, so this is the second part of the carbon cycle activity, passport activity or game that you guys had been doing. Part one, you were supposed to complete the diagram right here, the table with all of the 10 rows completed. Okay, I'll explain what the yellow ones are here in a minute. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take this information and fill out the diagram that is located here. Okay, there's two things that you have to do. Under each symbol, label the sphere that it represents: biosphere, geosphere, atmosphere, or hydrosphere. So for instance, like this one I've already done for you. For live animals, I put down biosphere. Okay. For atmosphere, you put down atmosphere, and then you do it so on and so on. Okay. With each of these different pictures. Then the second step is then you need to label the arrows with a process to show how a molecule of carbon would travel through the various parts of the carbon-oxygen cycle. You must label all the arrows with a process. Finally, answer the questions on the back of this paper. Again, this paper should actually be with the sub. Okay, if you're at home, then you'll need to print this paper. Okay, the second step, what you're going to do is for each of these areas, you're going to label the different processes. So for instance, from live animals to dead plants and animals, the process was death. From soil to the atmosphere, the process was decomposition. From atmosphere to live plants, process is photosynthesis. Some of these processes might be repeated several times. Like I will tell you, decomposition is probably used several times. Now, there are some processes some people may not get to, so I'm giving you guys a couple hints. So, for instance, not everybody gets to soils. So if you're going to go from decomposers and parasites to soils, the process is decomposition. Okay. Another note that you need to keep in mind is dead plants and animals. That is actually part of biosphere. So make sure when you label the diagram dead plants and animals, this one should be biosphere because it was once alive. So it's still part of the living part of the sphere. Okay. And then another one that some people don't get to is the one from dead plants and animals to the atmosphere, and that's through combustion. So with that being said, when you label the diagram, okay, you might get one from dead plants and animals to burning fossil fuels. You might want to add another arrow here, or otherwise going from burning fossil fuels to the atmosphere, you would label this one combustion. Okay, so then when that is finished, you have some questions to answer on here. Do your best on these. You're going to use the diagram to help you with answering each of these questions. You're going to write down which sphere you get large amounts of carbon. You're going to pick which sphere that is. 3 ways that carbon's released into the atmosphere. I mean, take a look at the picture of the atmosphere and use the arrows to help you with that. How do animals gain carbon for energy? Just think about it. Even think about the last cycle that we just did. What 2 ways do humans, I should put a plural there, humans release carbon into the atmosphere? Okay. Remember, humans are animals, so that might be a way to help you with that question. What processes do plants perform in the carbon-oxygen cycle? If you don't remember the answer to this one, you can use the diagram, or you can think about the activity that you read yesterday with the blue and the red arrows. Think about that. That's your notes. And then how does carbon get into our water? Again, use the diagram to help you with that. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. When you're finished, put this in the inbox. And if you are sick or absent, then you will just keep this and then turn it in when you come back from wherever you were at. Okay, message me if you guys have any questions.